Welcome to Secrets from the Saddle podcast. I'm Sylvie, your host, fellow cyclist, bike club founder, cycling coach, bike race junkie, just truly super passionate about cycling. My journey with cycling started 20 years ago when I opened a spin studio, started a women's race team, and founded a women's only cycling club called Cycle Fit Chicks. I'm super thrilled to reveal all aspects that make the world of cycling operate. I'm so excited to be able to bring you interesting people from around the world, pro cyclists, recreational cyclists, coaches, event organizers, bike shop owners, everything and everyone you need to know or ever wondered about when it comes to cycling. I know you'll enjoy this episode. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Secrets from the Saddle, All Things Cycling podcast with your host, Sylvie Daou, and we have Robyn Hughes. So this is something that I'm starting. I'm going to do a series of bike packing episodes talking to different individuals, women and men, about their experiences, how they're getting into it, why they got into it, because I'm personally interested, and I think there's a lot of people out there who are interested. So I hope everybody's keen on listening to these episodes, because I am. And that's why, as a podcaster, we get to do certain things like this. So I'm super excited, Robyn, to have you here. I asked Robyn to come on. She just finished the Log Drivers Waltz that happened here in our region. So welcome, Robyn, to the podcast.
Thanks, Sylvie. Thanks for having me.
All right. So as mentioned, we're going to be talking about bike packing. So before we get into all those juicy details, I have the first question for Robyn is, how you got into cycling and what led you to get into bike packing and into Log Drivers Waltz?
Yeah, so for me, I think people ask me if I counted this year. I'm like, yeah, I think I've been cycling for about 10 years, like more seriously, I guess. You kind of start out. I live in Toronto. I kind of commuted by bike when I moved into the city. It was the fastest way to get around, and kept going on longer and longer distances. And I was like, I kind of like this. And then got a bike that was capable. The first bike I got was actually a touring steel bike, because that's what I wanted to do. I think from the beginning, I wanted to do these kind of longer trips. That bike was unfortunately stolen, but maybe fortunately, because it was too heavy a bike for me.
It always gives you the opportunity to get another bike, right?
Insurance money, and got another bike, a little bit lighter, but still something I could, take off road. And I think as I kind of progressed through, I got more into like off pavement type
like
riding.
gravel stuff.
And I think I still remember like going out to Vancouver Island, and my partner and I were doing a road tour. And we ran into someone doing a bike packing tour, and I'm like, this looks really cool. This looks like more what I want to do. So I think that was kind of the moment around 2019 where I was like, this off pavement stuff looks way more fun.
Yeah.
And that was kind of where it started. And honestly, I was kind of on my own.
Your partner was not interested?
Trying to figure it out. My partner would come with me, but like they were like hopping around between jobs, and the timing never worked out. So I did a lot solo. Start.
Okay. I think that's kind of where we are, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of a solo thing, because you're finding a partner that, because my husband and I are talking about stuff like that as well. But also it's kind of like, I'm just going to go. Bye.
Yeah, exactly. The schedule works. Right. I've got it. I still remember like the first like real bike packing trip I did on my own. I was literally like, I'd been thinking about, I mapped out a route months ago. And it was like
visualizing it.
It was like Friday at 3 p.m. And I was like,
I'm going.
Oh, look, there's a campsite free. I'm just going to go. And I literally packed everything in a few hours and just went.
Wow. That is so cool. So how did you hear about the Log Drivers Waltz? Because just a little bit of background about that. I don't know a ton about it. I've just been seeing a lot of it pop up. So around the Ottawa-Gatineau area, there's a 700-kilometer route. Like it's a whole route connecting Ontario and Quebec. And I don't even know when this started. So I'm hoping to get Jen on here. But that was an event that happened 2 weeks ago. And how did you hear about that?
I'm not sure. I think through the Ontario bikepacking community, it just kind of somewhere trickled in at some point. The first real big ride I did was the BT 700, the Butter Tart 700.
Oh my God, really? Okay, so tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I've done that one 3 times now. Um, and like I go back to it, so it can't be that bad,
Because
right?
that's closer to you, obviously,
Much
because
closer to
that's in
me.
that
Yeah.
area of
Yeah, in St.
Ontario.
Jacobs. Yeah, so it kind of is in southwestern Ontario.
Yeah, yeah. I see that
But
too. I think he helped the organizer of that, the BT 700 helped map out this route. Did
they
I see
probably
that?
I think they might have traded some stories, but I'm sure Jen and Eric can because I think Jen and Eric
Yeah, I
their
think
first bikepacking trip was on the BT 700, and that's where they got kind of inspired, is my understanding, to build the log
right.
driver's waltz.
Yeah, because I think this has been mapped out for a while.
Yeah, I think it's probably 4 or 5 years at least, anyhow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so then that's where you heard about it and then you came up. Okay. Did you have to pay to, is it a registration or is it like
Yeah,
totally
these
free?
events are very grassroots.
Oh,
You
I
show
love it. That's even
you're
better.
you're given a date and you show up on the date, kind of.
I like that.
Yeah.
Free is always good.
Yeah, because I
Oh,
mean, really, at the end of the day, it's fully self-supported. If you get into trouble, you're rescuing yourself.
yeah. Uh-huh.
There's no support out there, so everything's at your own risk. You know, the event, I don't even want to call it an event, like the route creators, like they're not assuming anything here for their
Yeah, they're just
liability or
like,
anything. Yeah.
yeah. And I think, and that's what bike packing is about
Yeah.
anyways. But it is kind of, I find like when I go off long routes, it's kind of nice to feel like when you see um civilization or like houses that you're not completely off the beaten path. And
Oh, yeah.
if anything
Yeah.
happens, then you can reach out and stop at a house. So tell me about your experience this year.
Yeah, so this year I'd wanted to do the log driver's waltz for probably a few years now. And this was like finally this winter, I was like, you know what, we're just gonna make sure we dedicate the time and take it
Yeah.
off. So it did fit into my schedule. I raced the BT 700 in June, which was my first time trying to move fast on one of these. I was
Oh,
kind of curious about what it was like to go fast and,
uh-huh.
minimal kind of rest time and just keep moving. And I liked the experience. So I said, okay, I had already committed to the log driver's waltz. I was between whether I would tour it or I would, push the pace again. And I decided to push the
Okay.
pace.
Right, because I think you
Um,
did it in 3 days.
yeah, just under 3 days. So
Yeah.
it's a
Okay.
big effort to do it in
Yeah,
that short
talk
amount of
about that.
time. Yeah.
Because I've done 550 in 34 hours
Yeah, that's
as
a
an
good
event.
pace. But yeah, I think it's especially with the weather, we had both of those events this year. The heat was a huge factor
I
in
saw
both of
that.
them. There were heat warnings for both.
Yeah.
So like trying to figure out how to eat and drink enough and pace yourself and make sure you
Uh-huh.
got the amount of rest you needed. Like I just found I needed more rest than I normally
Uh-huh.
would.
Yeah, it's like the little
Yeah.
siesta in the afternoon kind of thing.
Yeah. And just, yeah, I know on the BT 700, I think the first night I maybe got 10 minutes of sleep. And it was
Oh,
then the next day, it was 34, 35 degrees before the humidex. Like it was well into the 40s with the humidex. And my body just couldn't regulate my heat. And so I realized I just needed more sleep than that if my body wanted to keep up.
yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, so tell me, okay, so
Yeah.
you did it at more of a race pace over
Hmm.
a touring pace. So what does that mean? So how much time did you rest?
Probably in total, like my total stop time was probably at least 10, 11 hours, I bet, like between
Oh,
like
okay.
all the various stops you make. But like in
Hmm.
terms of like sleep and off the bike totally, like that was probably more like 5, 6 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, because I
Okay,
think the
that's pretty
first,
good.
yeah, it's I think it's a decent amount of rest. And like that was a conscious choice to be like, I want to get that much rest. I don't like falling asleep on the bike, and it's got twice now. It's like started to happen. I'm like, I don't like that feeling.
Yeah. So did you end up actually camping? Did you bring
So
your tent and everything?
I brought a bivy,
Right.
which was honestly the weather was so hot at Log Driver's Waltz that you really didn't need a lot. It was really for bug protection. I could have gone with a much lighter kind of cover, but I brought what I
Yeah.
have. I just got this bivy. It's the only one I have.
Yeah, yeah.
So we set up, first night we slept in Calabogie, a few of us, kind of under the shelter of a hockey arena, like an outdoor hockey arena.
Yeah.
So some little bit of cover, but there were bugs. There were a lot of bugs. So I was very glad to have a full cover.
Yeah, yeah.
Other folks didn't really sleep because they were getting bitten.
Oh my God. Yes. Okay. Because I have a bivy. Well, actually, it's my husband's
Okay.
from he used it for winter camping. So I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
this is like the perfect little thing that I could use.
Yeah.
And then I have other various two person tents and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So but I've never slept in such a cocoonish kind of
Yeah, I gave it a
space.
test. So I test drove it in May. I went bike packing as like my little warm up training ride I do every May long weekend here.
Oh,
So I brought like all my heavier gear, but then I brought the bivy with me too. So I
mm-hmm.
just set it up one night and slept in it, and I actually got a great sleep. So I was
Oh, that's a
surprised.
bonus.
Yeah. And I'm like, this is okay. Because I think, yeah, there's definitely some people who get too claustrophobic in that situation,
Yeah,
but I
because
found it
like
okay.
I was looking at other bivvies and a lot of them have like the wire that kind of
Yes.
opens and his doesn't. So it's just like I'm like, how do you sleep in this? But there is places where I can tie it.
Yeah.
So
And
it,
honestly, I was okay with it on my face, but I have one of those hoops.
yeah.
And I put it up just for the bugs because the bugs were biting me through the netting.
Oh, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
They were really vicious this year. There's so many mosquitoes this year.
Wow. All right, let's think about that. Okay, so that was your tent. And so you did your whole, okay, so let's get into the questions. So
Yeah.
Kurt, I've got my notebook because like of course I'm taking notes because um I just made the decision. I mapped out my route. This is a route I've been thinking about for a while. And so I'm starting to throw gear in. I have a lot of gear from I went to Unbound XL and I did
Mhm.
the 350. So that was like, that's my only experience with long endurance, like kind of gravel riding. So it's nonstop. So this is where I've like slow myself down, smell the roses, kind of, yeah, I'm like, I don't know if I can do it, but I'm going to try.
I'm a big fan of that. I do a lot. Most of my experience until this year has been like more of the touring side. And like I call myself like a fast tourer. Like I do like to ride all day, like start at
Yeah.
8, finish by 6, 7 in the evening.
Well, that's probably
Um,
what I would be
yeah.
doing.
Yeah. And so I cover a fair bit of ground, but
Like have
also get like a solid dinner, solid break,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I figure I'm doing. So I'm going up from Wakefield to Maniwaki, Mont Laurier, Petit
Okay.
Train Nord, all the way down. Then there's another corridor that brings you over close to Montebello. Then you can go down and back to Gatineau.
Cool.
So it's like,
Very cool.
yeah. And it's funny because like I had some friends who talked about it, and I'm like, oh, that sounds like pretty cool. So I was thinking about it for a couple of years now. And since I started doing this long gravel event, I'm like, so I know I can do 500, 600 kilometers. I'm like, what if I just sort of like start camping and like taking my time inside of like enjoying the experience a little bit
Yeah,
more.
see a little bit more.
Yeah, instead of like,
Stop for more photos, have a good lunch.
yeah, exactly. And because you miss a lot of stuff when you're riding through the night. Um, and so then I was like, wow. So my family is going away for a couple of days to some like a cottage like to my in-laws, and I'm like, maybe I should this is the time for me to go to do
Yeah,
this.
it's a good window.
So this is what I'm doing, and I feel like a complete rookie, but I got a lot of stuff that I already have. So all right, here's my first question. I have like about 10 of them. You ready? You ready,
Yeah, let's
Robyn?
go. Let's
Okay,
go.
so the first thing is flats versus cleats, like bike
Hmm.
shoes.
Yeah.
Because I've seen people do more flats because cleats create heat, like there's like hot spots, and I've experienced that excruciating pain in my feet. So how do you feel about cleats versus flats and like maybe wearing sandals and socks the whole time?
Yeah, I definitely am like exclusively cleats, but I'm lucky in that I haven't had hot spots or anything like that on my
Oh my
feet.
God. You're
Yeah.
lucky.
Yeah.
I've
So
beyond myself with
it
that
was a
pain.
lot of work to find the right shoes though too. And I've got a new pair now that I decided not to use for the long term as well. It's because I wasn't confident in that I would last the full 800 kilometers in them. So I took my old pair, which are falling apart. I stuck some foam on some places where it started to wear. I'm like, these will just get me through another ride. It's fine. I know they work.
As long as they don't like completely
Yeah.
delevity, right? Like I get it because like I was thinking because I tested like shoes to cleats to flats to, and I was like, oh my God. Like, but I was thinking like if I'm doing like 100K a day, then I can handle the cleats. But I saw like I bumped into a couple of the participants from the Law Drivers Waltz
Oh
here in
yeah.
Wakefield, and they were in cleats, and I get like the heat too, and like just having your feet air out over time. I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense
Feet,
too.
feet were definitely an issue on this log driver's waltz with the amount
Yeah,
of water that we
I
had.
saw that
Yeah.
too, and that's what he said. Like it because it just dries out more when you're in your sandals and socks over being in wet shoes for
Yeah. Though I
the
definitely,
whole.
yeah, I definitely see the advantages of flats or like, sandals even. I'm not a terribly proficient technical rider, so I'd be terrified of banging up my feet on
Oh,
sandals.
I never thought about that.
Yeah. The,
But
the guy
I,
you saw, Alden, I think he's had some
yeah.
experience doing that.
Oh, really? Yeah, he was
Yeah.
in sandals. I was
He's
like,
in sandals and he's always in sandals, but I've also seen the other side of what happens when you bang your foot.
yeah, I have the closed end sandals.
Okay.
So I think
Yeah,
I
some
would
toe
use,
protection. Yeah.
yeah, those for sure. But what I was thinking is more the pulling up on the hills, like the advantage of being
Yeah.
clipped in. But also
Yeah.
I can ride
I'm not
without
a
that.
Yeah, I'm not a big pull up on for me, it's like I need my knees to track and I get
Yeah.
into trouble when I start getting tired and things fall out of alignment. So for
Ah,
me, cleats keep things where they're supposed to be.
oh, good point.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the next one is power source. So since you went through the night, multiple nights, what kind of power source did you use
Yeah.
to
So this
to power everything like your lights and
Yeah, so I do run a dynamo hub on my front.
oh, okay.
So it makes planning way I'm not thinking about power that much at all because my lights are being powered, and I can top up my bike computer with that easily during the day. So I'm never worried about
Really?
charging the computer.
Okay. Dynamo. I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to check.
So
I know
I
it's
have a
just
dynamo, a good system with a USB charger kind of plugged in there. But then I do carry a battery bank with me too, like a 20,000,
okay.
capacity battery
I
bank with
have
me.
one. It's fairly heavy, but it has its own place, and that's where I plug like my computer and
Yeah.
like my bike computer and everything. But for this, I don't need it so much. Like I of course I need to have Strava on, but I know the route
Yeah.
for the most part. And it's not like being on like a 500K route where if you can't afford to lose it because then you don't know where the hell you are. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and I think too, and you won't be riding at night, so you won't
Yeah,
need to worry. The lights are definitely the biggest power draw. So like it's when you start
yeah,
riding at night that you really have to start thinking about power. Because I had like a headlamp as well, but I didn't actually need to use it that much on this route just because I didn't need the extra light. I was fine with
yeah.
just the one I had powered from my dynamo.
Yeah, it's this point because like I don't even know if I'll bring lights because you could pretty much ride till 9 p.m. and then hunker down.
Yeah,
And if like,
it's really just as emergency backup. Like,
yeah, Dynamo. It's so old school, but it's
yeah, the
so like,
technology's come a long way though. So like they don't drag like they used to. There's definitely still a drag, but they don't drag
yeah,
like they used to.
but the benefits is certainly outweigh
Yeah.
like not having to, I mean, just drawing from the power you're putting out. All right. I'm gonna have to look into that. All right, so lights. What kind of lights did you have?
Run what's called the K-Light system. It's kind of really fits this niche of ultra bike packing.
Oh, okay.
So it runs off the dynamo. It's got a really wide beam, so it's good on trail. And
Yeah.
then it has like one longer throw one, but it's not great if you're moving at like say road speeds or even like fast gravel speeds. It doesn't. There were times when I was close to outrunning my light. So I'll
Oh,
throw on the headlamp if I'm doing that. The headlamp has a really good throw.
right. Because you come up to those corners pretty fast and you're
Yeah,
like,
and the headlamp's great for like looking around corners. If your bike's pointing one way, you need to see around the corner the other way. So I'll turn on the headlamp. And also because it's run off of a dynamo, like when I get down to maybe below 18 kilometers an hour, it keeps running to like it does keep running, but like the power goes down and it gets dimmer as you get slower. So
oh,
I'll
that's a
throw on that.
good
Yeah.
point.
So I'll throw on the headlamp to supplement it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. And then your tent, you had the bivy.
Yeah.
We've already gone through a couple
Bivy,
of
sleeping
my
pad.
questions.
Definitely
Yeah, sleeping
a
pad.
sleeping pad. I brought a pillow too. That was my luxury item. Just
Yeah,
a
I was
little blow
looking for
up one,
my.
like it's a size
Yeah,
of a deck
yeah.
of cards, but you know,
Just yeah.
I didn't have enough spare clothing to turn it into a pillow either, so you kind of need it.
Yeah, that's right. Like you don't have all the extra stuff you can like put underneath. I think a pillow is probably
Yeah,
my one thing that I would actually bring. I could wear the same thing for 4 days.
yeah.
Okay, maybe 3 pairs of shorts. Rotate them through. Oh yeah, clothing. Let me
Yeah.
just add. I didn't add that one.
Yeah, so
How
clothing.
many
Yeah.
shorts did you bring?
I
Oh,
I always do two pairs, no matter what distance I'm going. It seems like two is the number I always have. One
yeah.
one to wear, one to wash usually. But like
Yes.
not that I washed on this one, like, but it was two just to make sure. I did make sure it dried out on the top of my bag though at one point in the day, just to like get the sweat and gross out and sit in the UV, let the UV maybe disinfect a little bit.
Yeah, that does make sense. I've rode 500 kilometers in one pair of shorts, and boy, did I regret it for days after.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm definitely bringing a pair of shorts
Yeah, well, only
to
one
change
jersey
into.
though, and
Yeah.
I have like just a little very small hoodie that my friend made me. It packs down like very small, like definitely smaller than like a small burrito, like maybe the size of a piece of toilet paper tube. Like it packs down
Ah,
tiny,
wow.
but it's nice and really, really warm. So that's what I took as like my sleeping cover. I just wore that at night because it was so warm. I just needed basically just something to help hold a little bit of heat, but not much.
Yeah, I guess like you don't need to bring any underlayers like
Yeah. If it was
synthetic.
cooler, I definitely would. I had a liner on the BT 700 that I only used one night when it was cool. And
Mm-hmm.
then I didn't use it again. So really, but that's because like the nighttime temperatures, the coldest it got was 18, I think, 18 or 20 degrees.
Oh, even
So
that's cool enough to
you
like,
really didn't need anything.
yeah.
Like I honestly, I could
Huh.
have slept without a bivy if there were no bugs around.
You just bring like a mosquito net, really,
Honestly,
and
yeah,
a
like
sleeping pad.
there are bug bivvies, so like that's basically what you can have. I did
Huh.
try sleeping with just a bug hat on, and that did not go well. They still just tried to eat me.
You need to like disappear into your
Yeah,
bivy to get away from the noise too. I imagine they're okay. So minimal clothing, like just the basics.
yeah,
Um, and then what about water? Like how much
hmm.
water did you carry with you?
Yeah. And
Because
that's a
did
tough
you,
one when it's this hot, like because
yeah,
you're going through a lot. So I take a 2 liter like bladder in my frame
yeah.
bag.
Okay, so you keep it in your frame. Like
Yeah,
do you necessarily put anything on your back or do you try to avoid that as much as possible?
I was trying on this one because like anything, I did have like a vest that I threw food and like just carry some extra bottles of, Gatorade with me
Yeah,
for a few hours. But like it doesn't breathe as soon as you start putting stuff in the back. So
right.
you start overheating. So I was trying to limit how much I was putting in the back. But like I know lots of folks were wearing like a
Camelbacks.
camelback of some kind, and that works really well. I do that when I race like gravel stuff, and it's usually just
Yeah.
fine.
I know there's got some pretty slick gravel like vests, I guess you could say, for racing.
Yeah, I mean the nice thing about if it's on your back, you can fill it up with ice or something.
Yeah, that's true. You can slide some in there
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, and then I just had like a supplemental bottle, and then at stops I would, down like at least one or two bottles, but at the stop itself, and then I'd carry probably, I think the most I carried was probably three extra bottles with me that I took from a resupply stop,
So would you
just
say you had
because
like 5 liters on you at most
I'd say
times?
yeah, probably like especially for the long stretches where I was going to go through the night and I knew there was no
Right.
resupply for a while. Yeah, I was probably close to 5 liters.
Wow. Yeah, because I
I
had
also
it.
carried a water filter, so I could filter if I needed to.
I was gonna ask that
Yeah.
purification. Do you ever use tablets?
I try not to because I don't like the taste and then I don't
I
drink the
know.
water. So I'll try and filter usually.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think I filtered a couple times on this one.
Yeah, because I suppose you're around a lot of water.
Yeah, there's pretty good, though sometimes you're in a lot of private property and there just isn't a spot
Right.
to stop. But like I found on this route, like it wasn't that hard to find water.
Yeah, yeah. Enough for us. All right, food. I saw a lot of different foods being consumed in pictures on the lodge drive. So like bottles of V8. What is that?
Oh yeah,
Really?
big
Yeah.
fan of like a big thing of like V8 or my favorite.
Really?
I found Clamato juice on one of these rides. I was like, oh, there's Clamato like in a small bottle.
Is it because
Because
of the
the
salt?
salt, yeah. And it goes down so easy. I found like I wasn't like there was a lot of stuff. And when it's hot, it's so hard to keep eating. And
Yeah.
just like your body just doesn't want to, like you've got like the gag reflex, like it's like don't stop eating, stop what you're doing. And you're just trying to find ways to trick your body.
Yeah, I guess, eh? And then it's like all those sugary treats that you typically bring with
Yeah,
it.
if you
Did you bring a lot of food with you in between your stops, or did you just more or less eat the majority of your food when you stopped and then
I
snacked kind of
I carried quite a bit between because I do better at eating off the bike, so I would eat when I stopped. I'm
like
not
when you
that's
sit
one of
and
the things
like,
I'm trying to work on is like eating on the bike better. I'm pretty good at
yeah,
like just little eating little snacks, Rice Krispie bars or
yeah.
whatever. Um, but I'll eat. Yeah, I was carrying quite a bit of food. I'm kind of known as a bit of an overpacker on food though.
I do that too. Like I'd rather have too much than run
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, my
And
friends
I
make
don't,
fun of me. They're like, "How many Cliff Bars do you have, Robin?" I'm like, I'm not gonna tell you."
yeah, and I have one for you and you just when you run out. So don't
Yeah.
I'm a like I'm with you. I would not I don't get when I like I see some guy ride there this little pad for like 100K and then maybe a couple things in their back. I'm just
Yeah.
like, and I have left over and I'm like okay with that.
Yeah.
It just goes back into the bin, for the next ride, the bars.
Exactly. The
And
one, yeah. The one thing I always carry with me on these, and I brought this again, is some instant mashed potatoes.
oh, and baby food. Like
Mm,
anything that's powdered, you can just add water to.
exactly. And you just know it's there. I pack it like deep
Yes.
in my pack because I know I'm not going to access it unless I've got a real problem happening.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I
Oh
know it's
yeah.
there and I can just add water to it and eat it. And it goes down easy.
Yeah. I tried I made I made instant potatoes, but I put it in like a travel like squeezy pouch. And it went bad in the heat before I even got to it.
Oh no.
And I was just like, oh my God. I did that with sweet potatoes too. And they
Mm.
both like flared. It was like almost devastating because there was all my calories for this one event. And I had to like empty it out and figure out
Oh.
like go into the store and okay, what kind of junky food that I get to eat?
Yeah, I did bring quite a bit of stuff to start. So I really have become a fan of like the ethnic grocery stores, like the Korean grocery store is one of
Oh,
my favorite
okay.
places to get
Yeah.
stuff. So I got this time I walked in and they had these like dehydrated sweet potatoes, but like they were still like gummy, like they still had some
Yeah,
moisture
yeah.
in them. And they had packs of those and like nice little single serve, like almost. And I was like,
Oh.
they were amazing. I love those. Just like some
So you said it's an
yeah.
Asian restaurant?
Yeah, it was like a Korean grocery store that's near me. But and there's these like little like sugary bomb like red bean things that I like and I find those when my stomach doesn't want anything like I'll eat those. I know I'll eat them.
Yeah, yeah. I know I find it's like having the variety of things that you can access.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
because
then yeah, and like my strategy, I learned this on the BT this year, like just going in the heat that hard, like I just didn't want to eat anything. I was so underfueled on the BT. Like I didn't
yeah,
bonk, but I wasn't fueled well either. I was
mm,
probably only eating about half of what I should have.
yeah,
And I should have switched to liquid calories earlier. So that was my strategy going to log driver's whilst knowing how hot it was going to be. It
mm-hmm,
was eat a lot of real food for as long as I can the first day.
yeah.
And then switch to like supplement with liquid calories a lot. So a
What
lot
kind
of
of
liquid
liquid
calories.
calories did you use? Because I'm hearing more about that, like for these long race, like gravel races, people are going light with liquid powder, like powdered,
Yeah, so I didn't bring any powder of my own. It was more about walking into a gas station, what I could find in the gas station or grocery store.
oh, okay.
Yeah, so whether it was Gatorade or like, really sugary pops or
Oh
like,
my gosh.
fruit juices. I was a
Mm-hmm.
big fan. My favorite thing I had was Starbucks has an oat-based Frappuccino that comes in a bottle.
Yeah.
And it was great. Like I think they were like 400 or 500 calories a pop.
Oh my
So
God.
I'd get a couple of those, pour some into my water bottle and take that with me.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because I'm
Wow.
a little wary about, I know a lot of people talk about doing chocolate milk, but I'm a little wary about
I
having
don't do chocolate milk.
dairy on these. I'm like, I'd
Yeah.
rather stay away from dairy.
I'm with you.
So the oat frappuccino was in pretty much
Yeah.
every gas station I went into.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. What else do I have about food? Food. I think that's probably it.
Yeah, what
All right,
else?
let's
What else
move
I have?
on.
Lots of salt. Yeah.
Oh, salt, yeah.
All the salt.
Okay. Oh, pizza. Did you find pizza?
I don't think I had any pizza on this one. I did eat a bag of cheese curds though.
Oh, cheese curds are good.
Yeah.
Or like in the States, like some places you can get like burgers that you could just sort of eat. I remember
Yeah.
like chowing down on those. But
Yeah.
I don't think you hit any fast food restaurants. Did you like
There
McDonald's
was
or anything?
probably the opportunity, but I picked up stuff at the grocery store. So I think the first lunch stop I made, I ate a lot, and then I think I bought 3 prepackaged sandwiches and
Mm,
just dumped them into a Ziploc bag and took them for later and ate them, 6 hours later or whatever in the
yeah.
evening. Yeah, I did that, and I think that there was another stop I made. I had a package of tortillas on me, so I just picked up
Mm,
like some deli meat and cheese and
yeah.
made some little tortillas with those.
Tortillas are good. Okay.
Yeah,
Because
just
I
having
had to
stuff to eat through the night. You don't eat as much at night, I found. Like I'm just not as like, your body just doesn't need as many calories. Like it
yeah.
slows itself down naturally, but you still need to eat.
Yeah,
So just
yeah,
having something that was around, like some sandwiches or something.
yeah. That's right. Because I have to think outside of the race mode, like
Hmm.
as you're slowing down, like yeah.
Yeah, when I'm touring, I'm pretty loosey goosey. I'll eat whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess because
definitely.
like you're like, okay, I've got it from here to here, and then like, and then I can find whatever over here and
Yeah, some
yeah.
French fries,
Yeah,
whatever
French
it
fries,
is.
ice
Yeah.
cream, things like that. All right, so what about mapping out? Like, so this route had a map to it. Um, and I assume there's lots of destinations where you can stop. And so what kind of mindset did you go into like planning out your stops?
Yeah, I'm
And I know
definitely
because you're racing, because you had
yeah.
so that changes things. So you say, okay, I'm starting here, but I'm going to be trying to make it to here and eat or whatever. Like,
Yeah, for sure. And I think like it's really great. Like both the BT 700 and the log drive results have really great filled out like points of interest on their route maps. You have a
mm-hmm,
good idea of what's available, but you do have to always go back and check and see what opening hours are for things.
right.
You can't count on anything truly, especially when there's only one spot that maybe you're relying on. You can be really, I've been burned before where something wasn't open when you thought it would be open.
Yeah, and then you just sort of have to wait or like
Yeah, figure
roll
out. Like,
through.
that's why I bring so much emergency food.
And that works.
Yeah.
I know it's like the event, like I know log drive as well. It's like these places probably don't necessarily know about the event and people are coming through. Like when I did Unbound, like these places know that they have like
Yeah.
X number of people coming through and they do stay open for us as a courtesy, which is nice.
Yeah.
So then you can kind of count on them being over like till 12 p.m.,
Yeah.
or AM, I should say. Um, so
Yeah, but
did
like
you have kind of a strategy?
I think so. I'm definitely on the spectrum of people who do this kind of thing. I'm definitely on the planning side. Like I think there's
Yeah.
there's definitely different approaches you can take to this, and I think they
Mm-hmm.
all kind of work in different ways for different people. My
Yeah.
personality is definitely more on the planning side.
Yeah.
So I did take a look, and what I like about track leaders is you can go back and replay from the year before
Oh.
and see how long it took people to do sections.
Uh-huh.
So I did a lot of that, and I looked at a couple of people who I knew were roughly, my pace or a bit faster than me, and then I kind of mapped out roughly where I think I would end up, like kind of, within a 50-kilometer range, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that, weather conditions, all sorts of things can happen, mechanicals, right? Like you
Yeah.
make a plan and then you expect the plan to be blown apart right away.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it helps me just kind of know I'm like, okay, this to this is like this. And, I know this is a really long, tricky section. So I'll make sure
Right.
that you have extra food for that. Like maybe it's only 40 kilometers, but it's going to take
Oh
you
yeah. So it take you
three
like five
hours.
hours. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I think, yeah, replaying just to see how long it took. And I managed to map out. I was not far off my plan, to be honest. I was probably only ended up about an hour off my plan at the end of the day.
Oh wow.
So it worked out. And I did hit like most of the resupplies I was supposed to hit at the times I was supposed to hit them. And so things were open that I expected to be open.
Oh, that makes it really good.
Yeah.
Like that. Okay, so let's move to your bike. What kind of bike and what's your gear ratios? Because I am like seriously questioning my bike ratios for hill climbing.
So yeah,
Do you have a three
I'm
ring?
a big proponent of like ride what you got, you know?
Well, I know I definitely suffer with what I have for sure,
Yeah.
and I've done that. But then I was like, oh, because I
Yeah,
have a
and
couple.
that's how I started. I started on a bike with like a completely inappropriate gear ratio, with two skinny tires with tubes in them, and learned my lesson. But you know what? By doing that, I learned a lot about what I wanted out of my next bike. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, I know I want this and this and this. Um, so I was running, I think so I have the SRAM electronic shifting, their wide gravel uh
Okay.
setup. So I think it's 43 is the big ring, 30 is the small ring.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
43,
very
30.
yeah,
Ooh,
in the front. Yeah, it's very small. And then in the back I was running 1036.
okay.
So it goes lower than 1-to-1, which I think for gravel you have to, if you're doing 1-to-1, you're probably not having a good time necessarily. But
Yeah, I don't think
people
I'm
do this on
having a
single
good time.
speeds. So
I know. I know. I've seen that too, and they're fast, but
uh-huh.
like,
And you know what though? So at BT 700, I met Maggie Livelsberger, and she crushed that route. She raced it so well, and she ran a single speed. And I think I learned a lot there. I was like, you know what? There's something to this. You hurt your body in a different way, but you get off the bike when it's too hard to get
yeah,
up,
yeah.
and you
Hmm.
walk for a while. So you're resting your butt, you're resting your legs, like
Yeah, I do
um,
appreciate that when it
and you're
happens.
pedaling
It's
out of
like,
the saddle a lot more, so your butt's not getting the same impact by just sitting
uh-huh.
on that saddle the whole time. So I think there's something to say for like, if it's too hard to get up like on your gear, just walk it. I walked a lot, and I was like,
Yeah,
it's fine to walk for a little while, get a break.
I know. I definitely did that at Unbound. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, what's this? And I really do want to get off and stretch my feet because they're
yeah,
fucking painful. They're in
yeah.
pain. Did you have a set of aero bars on your bike?
I did. Yeah, I didn't actually use them too much on this
Really?
route.
Okay.
They were in slightly the wrong position. I got a slight change to my bike fit, and then the aero bars were a teensy bit off, so they were digging into my arms. I was too lazy to try and fix them on the road, but I did still use them here and there. But the
Hmm.
route's so up and down that it was hard to stay in them.
Okay, so there
Yeah,
wasn't really,
yeah, it was
there
really like there
wasn't,
are some long stretches of rail trail and a few spots where you probably do want them.
yeah, just sort of
Um,
relax into them.
yeah, but because especially the first section was so up and down, you're not really in the aero bars that much.
Huh. Okay. So I know when I put mine on for Unbound and I used them way more than I thought.
Yeah, like
Because
BT
I
700, I use them a ton, especially the first day where we were it's almost flat for 200 kilometers. So you're in the
ah
aero bars a lot.
yeah. Oh my God. Okay, your favorite items that you brought. You talked about your pillow.
Yeah, pillow's good. So I think one of my favorite items, this really tiny towel that
Oh
packs
yeah.
down really small. I used it for all sorts of things, like when the salt and the sweat was getting into my eyes, and like the
That's a
sunscreen, just
good
to wipe off
point.
my face, to clean off my sunglasses. It was like a microfiber material, so I'd clean
Yeah.
off my sunglasses with it. Like that was one of those things I'm like, I'm definitely bringing this all the time. I used it way more than I thought I would.
Huh. So is it kind of like this big?
Yeah, it packs down to like, I don't know, the size
Like
of a bug
hand
net.
towel?
Yeah, it's a bit bigger than a hand towel. Like I've used it as like it's now my bike packing towel. I use it for like showering too.
Okay.
Dry myself off. It's probably half the size of a regular towel, maybe a third.
Okay. It's like
Yeah.
synthetic, like that
Yeah, synthetic. Yeah, like the same material, those glasses cleaners are made out of
yeah, yeah.
almost. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Really liked that. My friend, the one who made me my hoodie,
Hmm.
she also, a few days before, I saw how much water there was, and everyone was showing these straps off. And I was like, oh, can you make me one of these? Do you have webbing? She's like, I have so much webbing. She makes all her own gear. She makes bike packing bags and hammocks and everything.
Oh
So I knew
wow.
she'd have stuff around. So she just whipped me up like a really simple strap that hooked onto the bike. And I used that strap probably 4 or 5 times to carry the bike.
Really? Because I
Yeah.
saw that too, and I've carried my bike and just hooked my saddle over my
Mm.
shoulder. Was that too hard, do you
It's
think?
too heavy. Yeah, definitely too heavy for me to do that.
Right.
Like I needed the strap on the shoulder plus my arm kind of helping from below was where I was
Right.
at. And also like I have a rotator cuff injury that's been acting up, so that was partly to deal with that.
Okay. Hmm. Good point. Because I
Yeah, and
did
it was
see that and I saw the water and yeah,
yeah.
I guess
And
some
the strap,
people.
you know, it's useful for like if you had a mechanical, you could probably rig the bike up on a tree branch or something and have it
Oh,
hang and like work on the bike.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, it
Okay.
took up almost no space, so
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Now, last, I have two more questions.
yeah.
So, share a big fail. Like one of those
Mm.
things where like, fuck, that was not right, or like something you're just like, oh my God, I'll never do that again.
I think probably the biggest fail was like my water planning one night. I
Like
stopped in,
this past one, like
yeah,
in
on
Mock
this,
Drivers. Yeah.
yeah, that was not great. I probably should have used some tabs in addition to a filter.
Mm,
Nothing happened, but I was really reluctant to drink the water because that I had filtered. It was out of like it had a big don't, this water's not potable. Uh, and I was like, well, I'll filter it and then I'll have it, but I didn't end up
okay.
drinking it. So I carried around like 2 liters of water that I didn't drink for how many hours through the hilliest section of the route. And I'm like, why am I just lugging this extra water? I either gotta dump it or drink it at this point.
Yeah.
And that was really dumb. I'm sure there's other like bad fails I've had. I mean, for me,
Have
like
you had
it's
any serious mechanicals?
I've been
Because that's
lucky. I
another
haven't.
one.
I've been really lucky that
Knock
I
on
haven't.
wood. Knock
Yeah.
on wood, Robin.
Yeah, I've been
Hit
really
some
lucky that I haven't.
paper.
But you know what? I bring a full repair kit. I
Yes.
have everything.
And I've come across people who just like they're walking their bikes and hey, are you okay? They're like, yeah, yeah. I'm like, are you sure? And I just remember this one event. Came across this guy who's walking and it was like a downhill. And my friend and I'm like, I think we should stop. And he had a flat. I'm like, do you have like a pump, a tube? He didn't have anything. I'm
Oh
like,
no.
how can you ride your bike for like any kind of event with nothing on you? And just
Yeah.
luckily his tubeless tire just needed an extra pump. Like I guess he just hit it and in such a
Worked
way
itself.
that
Yeah.
it deflated and we just had to pump it up. I'm like, you don't have a pump? Like we had like
Yeah.
pumps and leaks, like everything. Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely travel with the full
Yeah.
everything,
I've
even
been
with tubeless tires.
Oh yeah. I brought 2 tubes and all the
Mm.
stuff, like just in case. I was running tubeless, but yeah, you need to have everything just to just rescue yourself, just to get out to like a main road even sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. And yesterday we did a long ride and we had a tubeless tire kind of flat. And so, trying to find the hole. So we tried to plug it, didn't work. Then we're like, okay, we got to put the tube in. So she had this tube and it had been fixed by the shop. And what they did is just put this little patch on this hole, like one of those little clear ones, like
Okay.
the ones I would never use to patch
Yeah.
a tube. And put it in, it didn't hold. We're like, what? So you need another tube and like a brand, so I gave her my tube and we're just like, like what if she'd been by herself? Because like
Yeah. I've been really lucky that like maybe last year in the BT, I did go over the bars last year on the BT.
oh my gosh, really?
It was very much my own fault, but I was going very slow and I got very lucky that I landed where on like soft leaves and didn't hurt myself more than I did. But yeah, that definitely we edited the route after that to make it more direct. I was still able to ride, but it wasn't, I didn't want to be doing anything extra.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
So,
just a fistful of front brake. I did one of those.
oh yeah, with like
Yeah, just right over
loaded.
top. Yeah, right over the top.
And
Me and my 50-pound bike.
oh, oh my God.
I've been like one of
Well,
my friends I ride with though, he's kind of notorious for bad mechanicals. I feel so bad for him. Like it happens far more frequently than it should. And it's honestly not like him not maintaining the bike or anything. They're just freak mechanicals that seem to be
really?
happening. Yeah.
Like broken chain,
Yeah, we were
derailleur.
up north of Bancroft and the bead of his tire started to separate and it was tubeless and like there was no way to save that tire. Like there's nothing you can do to that.
Oh my God, that is one of those things that like
Yeah.
unless you have a new another tire with
And we
you.
called around to the bike shop and he didn't have anything that was near the right size. There was a one bike shop and he was down by the river helping some people. Like the bike shop had closed, but he answered my call.
Ah, can you come
Yeah.
and find us?
Yeah. But like,
Wow,
yeah, just
yeah, that is
unfortunate
like,
mechanicals. Sometimes you just have bad luck. I've been lucky that I haven't had any. There is definitely an element of luck.
yeah, I've been kind of lucky too. How about last question, training for this?
Mm.
Training for endurance. Like, what's your advice to anybody who wants to?
Oh, I'm not the greatest person to ask about this.
I like this, like, just ride your bike. That's what my
Yeah.
friends told me. Just ride it, but ride it different times of the day, into the night. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I think coming back to me, yeah, to me it's a lot of like the endurance riding comes, like the strength and the ability to like the aerobic ability just kind of comes with like regular riding, but there
Over
is a lot of
time.
like the little things that you need to think about, like riding through the night. For
Mm.
me was something I was just I had, last fall was the first time I did like a full solo night ride on my own. And I think
How'd you
that got
like the
over
night rides? How you
so
like?
that one was the one that like got over all the psychological barriers to it. And I
Okay.
think that was better. And then I loved the night riding on the log drivers Waltz. It was my favorite part.
It's nice, eh? I kind
It
of
was
like the
really
the
nice.
chilling and the looking at the stars if you can
Yeah,
see
looking at the
them and
stars and there were no bugs and it was nice and cool.
yeah,
The no bugs
yeah,
was huge. The section I did at night around Mont Saint Marie, I
yeah.
did that. And like my friend had texted me who was ahead of me and said it's so buggy in there. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna ride this at night. And be okay with that.
Oh, you're lucky. Just
Yeah,
everything was out during the day.
exactly. There's no force flies, though there was a couple just behind me and they said that by 6 a.m. like the horse flies were way out in force. So I got through just in time.
Oh my God. Oh, good. Yeah, I know. I did. We had the event and we were on the rail trail. And if it's anything on the rail trail, that's where everything is. And they just swarm you because you're going so slow.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my God, the horse flies. Well, just make your bike faster down the
Oh, so that was
section.
another thing I brought. I brought these little, have you seen these little like dragonflies you can clip?
Does it work?
So yes.
Because
We
I
don't,
saw that and my husband's like, there's no way those things work.
right?
I go,
I was like, I'll bring them,
I don't
we'll see if it
know.
works. So for me, I had one on my handlebars because I found I was getting a lot of bites on my hand during the BT 700. So they were
Okay.
still biting me. But I remember there's like a distinct moment where I realized it worked because I was just getting swarmed by horseflies. There were so many. And so I had my other one and I grabbed it and stuck it on my helmet. And immediately there was a reduction. Like it was like 25% as many as there were. So it didn't get rid of them, but it was like way, way
Like, so
less.
you're
I
not
still
going to
got
lose your
still got
mind.
bitten. There were still that were brave enough to they didn't care about the horsefly for sure, but like there were just less.
Yeah. Oh, so it
Yeah.
does work. I've seen that for fisher, like when you're going out
Hmm.
fishing. And I'm like, huh,
Yeah.
that's
I
pretty
did lose
smart.
one of mine's in Gatineau Park somewhere. It fell off my
Oh,
helmet.
I'll go
So.
find it. Oh my God. Oh, that's awesome, Robin. Is there anything else you can share with us that maybe we haven't covered that people getting, like someone getting into bike packing for the first time, maybe their first experience, should know that
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
think so. For
cover?
me, I do a lot of stuff with the Saddle Sisters of High Park here in
Okay,
Toronto.
I know those ladies.
Yeah. So we're running like for me, it's like I didn't have this when I was starting, which was like that kind of group to kind of just get you out the door that first time.
Hmm.
So I'm running like a few events. We've got an intro bike packing weekend at the end of August, which I'm so excited for. So like
Oh, you
finding
know
like these
what?
little opportunities.
Can I
Yeah.
collab with you and just because after I do this,
Yeah.
I'm gonna come back to you and ask you what you're doing for your event. Maybe I can
Yeah.
duplicate it here
Yeah.
for our ladies
Yeah, for
who are
sure.
into it.
And
Okay, that's
yeah, and
awesome.
so I did this for the first time last year and then I did it twice. It went so well the first time. And it was really like, it was very much at okay, you just need to put some stuff on your bike and go. Like that's the level. Like we're not caring about how long you're riding. I ran it
Right,
like out of central Toronto to like a provincial park on the edge of the city.
right. So
Like
it's
it's,
like a
yeah.
couple bags
Yeah.
kind of
So I'm
thing.
like, just find a place to put, your tent, your sleeping bag, your sleeping pad.
Oh,
That's really what you
okay.
need. And put
Right.
that
Okay,
on, figure
that's
that
kind of
out.
stuff.
Yeah, but also like just that support. I think, that first step, like if you can find some community, you can always reach out to me. I'm always happy to help people. I really want to help people because that's where I had the most trouble was like that first couple
Yeah, that's why I'm
steps.
doing this. So like
Yeah.
I can learn and then get myself together. And I love that
Yeah.
what you're doing. I think that's great. I think I'm going to do that as well at the end of
Yeah.
August, like everybody's back from like
Yeah. And so it's a
holidays.
super simple, it's fully paved. It's mostly on like shared paths, and
Yeah.
the GO train, our GO train runs alongside our commuter train. So if people, are tired and feel like they can't make it anymore, they can jump on the train. Like
Oh, well, you're
it
lucky.
gives
We
it
don't
gives
have
people
that
an
here.
out. Gives people an out. So they're not afraid to like kind of put their hands up and try.
Well, we can use the Chelsea Rail Trail here because it's
Yeah.
18 kilometers, 20 kilometers Chelsea to Wakefield. So
Yeah.
it's a total of like 40K round trip. Is that too long?
No, I don't think so. I think that's totally
But
great.
so your setup on your bike, did you have a bike rack or did you use like like everything underneath your front handlebars?
Yeah.
And
I think my racing setup is like it's my big saddle pack, but I just pack it down really small. I'm one of those people, I'm like, I'm not gonna spend the money until I'm sure I want it for something
yeah.
else. So I did that, ran a frame bag and just a smaller handlebar bag, like just not one to put my sleep kit in, just like for all the stuff you kind of just want easy access to.
Right.
Yeah, but when I'm touring, I run also a couple of fork bags on the bike,
I think
and
I
yeah.
bought a fork bag. I'm like,
Hmm.
hey, this is cool. So
Yeah.
I think like that's probably where I can fit my bivy and
Hmm.
my my camping stuff
Yeah,
in
I know a
there.
lot of people like to I usually put like my sleeping bag on my handlebars when I bring it.
Right.
Because
I have a small sleeping
your light
bag.
stuff up high and your heavy stuff down low. So
Okay, so
yeah.
okay, what's the trick here? Heavy stuff on top, so like your handlebars are on a bike rack, like
So the handlebar stuff, you want like your lightest things, probably like your sleeping bag, maybe your sleeping pad. Some people put their whole sleep kit. I found if I put my whole sleep kit in my handlebar bags, it got too heavy. So I'd
right,
split it between the front and the back. And then
right.
stuff like my water, my tools, anything like that, are in the frame bag as close to the bottom bracket as I can get it.
Mm-hmm.
Just to give it, because I do find the bike, to me, that like people are like the bike handling is fine with all the weight at top. I do find it handles differently, and I'm not as nimble as I would be with
Oh yeah, I
the weight
can.
down lower. I do have like a rack with some mini like gravel panniers that I really like as well, especially on smaller bikes, smaller folks. If
Right.
you don't have the room to get a saddle pack on, like panniers.
Yeah, I do have a really good bike rack that I was gonna put on because I do have under the saddle bags that I've used for racing. Um, so it's a toss up between using that or the rack and just putting things on the rack.
Yeah. And just to keep stuff off your tire, sometimes you just need a little something to keep it off your tire.
Yeah, and yeah, so that's why I have all my stuff here and I'm just looking at the setup as to what would be the best.
Yeah. Yeah. I have these
Um,
I really love these little gravel panniers. And the panniers are also really nice because they're so easy to pack. You're not sitting there playing Tetris with all your stuff.
yeah. Well, I have some old pannier bags. Like they're not like
Yeah.
the waterproof ones now, but I have the like those shit. Well, they're like camping bags. Like the waterproof, like you roll them up.
Oh yeah.
All
Yeah.
those
Yeah. The dry bag. Yeah.
the dry bags, yeah. I
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
lots of those. So that the thing is that I can put everything
Yeah.
in dry bags, even though it's more weight, but I can use my saddle bag if I choose to.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, how light do I want to be?
Yeah.
How minimalist do I want to be? Because I have to think like I have my food canister I'm gonna need to bring in my camp, which I've bought a new one, which is like about this big.
Oh, nice little stove. Yeah.
Yeah, with the the
The
fuel
fuel and the
and the
stove. Yeah.
can, like it's
Yeah.
all together.
Yeah. I have one of those I bring and yeah, it's great to have something really compact like that.
Yeah, so
But
that's can be like on the side frame bag. So yeah, so
yeah.
now I'm just sort of like figuring it out. And I'm sure like, you know,
Yeah, I always tell people
half,
borrow stuff. Like bikepacking stuff is expensive, and you
yeah,
don't necessarily know what works for you until you try it.
yeah,
And you're out there, and
uh-huh.
you're like, oh, this didn't work on my bike. Like it's always slipping down and then hitting my wheel, like, or
Yeah, I'm sure
it's
I'll
rubbing my
figure,
leg. If the frame bag's too wide, and it's rubbing my legs the
or
way I
hitting my
actually stuff it
heel.
when I'm out on the. There's the way you stuff it when you're at home, and then there's the way you stuff it when you're in a rush out on the road.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then when you start riding, like, oh my God, this is not go
Yeah.
well.
So
You're like,
I'm like, Yeah, I think lots in my experience, like I'm always happy to loan out my gear to people. I've loaned out my gear to tons of folks, and then they figure out what kind of works for them, and then they make a more informed purchase down the road.
Yeah. So that's what I'm kind of be doing this afternoon. I was going to look at one of my different bikes because it has the 3 chain rings, but maybe like you said, just tough it out on my
Yeah.
on my gravel
But it's a bike
bike.
you're comfortable on, right? That's what it is at the end of the day.
Yeah, I know. It's like switching it up for something different the last minute. You're like, kind of regret it. So that's, anyways. But thank you so much, Robyn. I so appreciate it. Now, where can people find you and follow the stuff that you're doing in Toronto?
Yeah, in Toronto. So on Instagram, I'm pretty active. Not so much right now with my thumb injury, but hey.
Well, hey, sometimes you need to take a little break
Yeah, this
from
was
the
my forced
scroll.
recovery.
Yeah.
But on Instagram, I'm Robyn Miyuki. So it's Robyn with a Y, Miyuki. On there. And then of course Saddle Sisters of High Park, who I do
Okay.
tons of rides with. Our all of our information about our upcoming bikepacking weekend at the
Okay.
end of August will be on the Instagram account and also on our Strava group,
Okay.
which is a group on it's Saddle Sisters of High Park on Strava.
Can anybody join the Saddle Sisters, or is it just for women?
Anyone, woman identifying, femme, yeah.
Okay. Strava. And are they most active on Instagram or Facebook?
Yes, definitely on Instagram.
Okay.
And our Strava group is there. We also, like, once we meet you and ride with you, we also have like a Discord server where we have lots of conversations and plans and things. So we're very safety conscious. So like once we meet people in person, there's a little bit more access you get.
Right, of course, because like you never know.
Never know who's anyone out there on the internet.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, you're totally right. All right. Well, thank you so much, and have yourself an amazing day. And I appreciate you for coming on and sharing your story and a lot of your little tips. So I hope everybody found some good content here, and reach out to Robyn. You can reach out to myself. I'm just getting into it, but anyways, I can certainly give some insight. So maybe some things not to do. But have yourself amazing. Thanks, everybody. And don't forget to follow Secrets from the Saddle podcast on Instagram and on YouTube, where you can find all the episodes. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have an amazing day. Bye, Robyn.
Bye, thanks.
All right, everyone. I hope you found that as interesting as I did, and just a lot of the ideas and things to set yourself up for your first bike packing. So if you're interested, okay, make sure you put a comment on our YouTube channel or on our Instagram page that I was just talking with Robyn. She's going to be doing a beginner bike packing little workshop at the end of August, and I talked to her about replicating that here for any kind of beginners. Would you be interested? If you're listening and you're in the Gatineau, Ottawa region, would that be of interest to you? So make sure you comment or reach out to me on social media and say, hey, I'm interested. And it's not about you having to go buy all this stuff. It's just getting what you have on your bike, and we'll go for a bike ride and just sort of test out. Because I find that getting to ride with extra weight is really important, so that you can feel the difference on your bike. You can experience how your bike feels, and actually pushing the extra weight, and does it fit comfortably, all these things. Because you'd be surprised, like you think it's a good setup and then you go and ride and it's not. It doesn't work for you. You can't get things, you can't access them readily as you thought, and so you end up changing things around. So that's what it's all about. So yeah, so let me know, and we'll see you then. Talk to you later. Bye. Thank you so much for spending this time with me on the Secrets from the Saddle podcast, learning more about sighting people, places, and things that make cycling such an exciting sport. I am so glad you stopped by today. please leave me a review if you feel so moved to do so. I would love to hear your feedback. And if you could take 1 second to share this episode with someone you think would enjoy it, I would be forever grateful. Also, if you could please leave me a review if you feel so moved by going to iTunes and leaving me an honest thought and an honest comment, telling me what you think, and most importantly, tell me what you'd like to hear more of. It would really help me to bring more great, inspiring cycling stories to you. Until then, have an amazing day. Make sure you ride your bike. And don't forget to visit my YouTube channel if you'd like to see the full version of this podcast live.